Talk Word with Maria. I am so excited today because this is my episode 60 of Let's Talk World, featuring different artists, business people, people who have stories, people who have products and services. And you know it all. You have to actually send me an email at info@socialmediashows.com. I'm pressured because you know what, I'm very excited. I have with me our beautiful, fabulous Janet Franco, a longtime TV and radio personality.
Thank you.
Welcome to my show,
Maria.
Janet, and thank you for gracing my show. I am excited and I'm shaking, guys.
But that's so cute, Maria. We ran into each other at the Westgate recently
Yes.
because of this guy.
This
right?
guy,
Yes.
yes. This is Mr.
Bret Matheny.
Bret Matheny. Yes.
An entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yes.
And also, I'm so happy to introduce to you guys. Do you want to do the honor to introduce Mr.
Yes,
Barry?
I would love to. This is a retired Air Force Colonel, Barry Muese. He was a combat fighter pilot in Vietnam, so we owe you an amazing thank you, and to all of our veterans out there in our active military, we say thank you. And this show is going to be so exciting about
It
what we're
is.
doing to help our veterans and help
I
our
can feel the energy.
drowned babies. Oh yeah.
So I have one question. How do
Yes.
we bottle her energy?
Well, I think together we blow out a room.
I want your energy.
Right, you have it.
Well, thank you for those who just joined us and who is joining us. You already know what my show about, but today is a very special show because I am here with Miss Janet Franco, the fabulous Janet Franco. She is actually an advocate,
Veterans and you know, I've been in the humanitarian field since I was 5. I've always wanted to help. Used to be on the playground. I was always helping the one that was getting beaten up. So I think I was born that way. Yes. And so just a real quick introduction. I have 4 children, and 2 of my kids suffered some serious problems. One a head injury, and one they had no idea what was the matter with him. So through my search around the world, we found answers. So I started doing radio in 1989 here in Las Vegas, Maria. And now, after all these years with radio and being an advocate for the less fortunate, an advocate for the complementary industry, Barry and I came together about 4 years ago to really bring help to our veterans. Do you know we're losing about a veteran to suicide about every 20 minutes? So this is just an emergency right now. And today we're going to be talking about, Barry, we're talking about Imagine Now, our charity, Nurturing Our Warriors, NOW. And we're going to talk about all of the modalities that we now have to introduce with hyperbaric, stem cell, neurofeedback, Avacen. So exciting, the triple crown of health. And with that said, Barry, I want you to say just a few words about Imagine Now.
Well, Imagine Now is a 501c3 nonprofit tailored to veterans. And once we got started and we looked at the veteran population, there's 21 million veterans out there today. We lose 22 a day or more. That's to suicide, and that's a low estimate from the Veterans Administration. They believe it's low. The Defense Department believes it's low. People who work with veterans believe it's low. And we've noticed in working with veterans that many of them have gone into first responder jobs, the ones who are functional and can work. And a lot of the first responders have concussion. They suffer from TBI and PTSD, not only the veterans, but also first responders. And frankly, anyone that suffers from domestic abuse or youth sports. So concussion is really the underlying problem for a number of our mental health problems that we see in society today. Rage, impatience, anxiety, and inability to take in information, short-term memory loss, all of those things, many times they just trace right back to concussion. If we can solve the underlying problem of concussion, we can heal it with these therapies, then we can restore people to normal lives. We can bring husbands and wives back together. We can bring families back together. and have a much more civil society. So I'm very excited about being here with Maria, and these modalities are just breathtaking in their scope and their ability to heal people. And it's an honor to be here with you, Maria, and with Bret. And
It's
with
it's a
Janet.
pleasure to me, and thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your service, Colonel.
Thank you. Thank you.
And well, I want to know more about you.
Well, my name is Bret Matheny. I was born and raised in Long Beach, California. I have two fabulous children, Sammy and Daniel. And I've been in business pretty much all my life as far as a self-employed businessman. I've been in productions. I love the production field. I love to produce. I have produced major shows out there, received international recognition for what we've done in production. In 2012, in a company that I co-owned, we sold to a Fortune 200 company. So that put me in front of an opportunity to make other choices, and as an entrepreneur, 1,000,000,000% of my heart goes in front of that. I love life, and I'm a people person, and so I'm a little bit different. They're more humanitarians. I'm more of a structure of putting something out there and helping people find their niche in business. But at the end of the day, we're on the same platform. We all want to help people. When you say the suicide rate, it just crushes me that there's people out there in their homes right now thinking that their life is not worthy and it's done with, and they want to end it because they don't think anyone cares or loves them. And we have to change that tone. And so it's just a thank you to both of you for what you're doing.
Thank you,
And,
Bret. There's a lot of people out there, veterans and first responders and active duty service people, who feel like their families would be better off if they weren't the burden that they have become. And that's we got to attack that problem, as well as the problem of despair and depression.
Wow.
So it's just wonderful to be here and to talk about these therapies and modalities. And I know we're gonna save a lot of families and a lot of lives.
You know, Maria, I think in this hour people need to remember that whether you're connected with veterans or military, we have NFL players now are suiciding as much as veterans. We have a lot of the athletic arena that we're going to be discussing today, and how we can help them now with this crazy CTE. Ever since the movie with Will Smith, it's really taken its own wings and brought education up, and that's what we're here to do, is really to mental illness is just destroying this country. And my son had brain injury, so I'm very aware of what suicide is like. He tried 4 times to kill himself, and so I'm so dedicated to this and to what you're doing, Maria. And Bret, I can't say enough about you. We've come together finally. We've been looking for that connection to work together with, and here it is, this brilliant machine in front of us. And we're going to be talking about baby Christopher. He had a near drowning July of 2017. We were able to get him 62 hyperbaric dives where he was like as hard as this table when I first met him, and now he's tracking. He's more pliable now, and we're going to talk in the hour about what Avacen has done for him. So please stay tuned and turn all your friends onto this, because we're making history right now.
Yeah.
We're making history, and we're going to be discussing in the next segment maybe the Triple Crown of Health, and how after 28 years of radio, I've handpicked what I believe, and Barry and I believe, is the perfect complement to bring into your life, whether it's a young child, an adult, it doesn't matter. Mental illness, like you said, Barry, is affecting everyone. And in this town, we have #1 suicide for veterans, seniors, and teenagers right here in Las Vegas. So that needs to be addressed.
Something I think is really important, when she said she's handpicked the Triple Crown, and we'll get to that in a second, it's years of experience of what these two have seen out there in the field. It's them being able to talk to people and to find out exactly what's needed. And what Janet and Barry has done is they have really put a lot of serious thought into what can fit together, and then being able to bring that out as a package that can only benefit all of us. And like she said, when we talk about the Avacen, that's just one component. It's going to be exciting for you to hear the other components as well, because it's life-saving.
It is.
It is. And Barry, let's talk a little bit about the IHMF. I know we're going to go to break in a second,
Yes.
but do we have a
Yes,
couple
we
minutes?
have some.
Why don't you
few-
explain
Well,
that?
there are. She's talking about the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, which is proven to restore brain health, and particularly effective for PTSD, TBI, any form of concussion. It's extraordinary technology. It's been around for a long time, and it's reaching more and more people now. One of the governing organizations is the International Hyperbaric Medical Foundation, or the IHMF. I'm honored to be the Vice President for the United States for the International Hyperbaric Medical Foundation, and I've just joined the Hyperbaric Medicine International Group, which is another governing body in the hyperbaric world, and I'll be working with them to bring hyperbaric to as many people as we can. So the point of the Imagine Now Foundation is to raise funds to treat veterans, first responders, battered women, prisoners, youth sports, babies suffering from this near drowning as Christopher. And the Hyperbaric Medical Foundation is dedicated to that effort, and to be able to join together and bring in neurofeedback and stem cells and the Avacen to help restore brain health as the underlying cause of a good number of the mental health issues we see out there today, not only in the United States but elsewhere.
So it's this is the IHM that you're talking about. right?
IHMF.
International Hyperbaric Medical
All right, so we're
Foundation.
we're gonna explain more about this device in the next segment.
Sure.
All
That'd
right.
be
I do
great.
have something here if possible.
Yeah.
Oxygen, we all breathe oxygen.
Yeah.
We all know that
Breath
keeps
of
us
life.
alive. The breath of life.
Yes.
But Barry, why don't you explain why oxygen is so important to the internal parts of the body, everywhere?
Well, oxygen is the healing component. So when you have a scrape, you fall down, you scrape your knee, you have a scrape perhaps on your hand, your body immune system responds to that and immediately goes there and it brings oxygen as well as white blood cells. So hyperbaric oxygen therapy is therapy that's in a chamber. It's pressurized so that the oxygen, being a gas, under pressure the molecules become smaller. And if you have a crush injury, or say a diabetic foot wound, or some other ulcer on your body, then those oxygen molecules will shrink under pressure and will get into those areas of your body where you've had trauma. So you may have a sprained ankle and it swells way up, cuts off the blood supply really, and hyperbaric oxygen therapy reduces the swelling and brings oxygen in. The only thing you need for a wound to heal is oxygen, and the food that you get is normal nutrients. That's all that you need. And hyperbaric oxygen therapy, neurofeedback, stem cells, Avacen, these modalities bring more oxygen to the small capillaries and help restore function. So a good part of the brain injury turns the brain into a hypoxic condition. Hypoxic being low oxygen, inadequate oxygen. So if you can just restore those tissues, restore the vascular system to the tissues, then the brain tissue will grow anew. It'll take the old tissue, if it's just hypoxic, will get a fresh flow of blood and renew itself, and then parts of the brain or tissue which may be damaged beyond repair will grow new tissue. And that's part of the science of hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and we learned that with baby Christopher. So the near drowning baby, if I could take that for a moment, his brain, he had no brain activity.
Yeah.
He had no, but his no brain activity didn't mean he was dead.
It's
What
like
it meant
a coma,
that
right?
he was,
It's like brain-
yeah, he had insufficient oxygen in his brain. So when he gets oxygen back to the brain and it's flowing again, then he can restore to normal function, which Eden Carlson a very similar case to Christopher, except she was able to take a full year of treatment, and she's just a normal child. And she was in a swimming pool for over 15 minutes, and they brought her out, took her to the ER, and they said, well, she's brain dead, we can't do anything for her, you could take her home. Well, the parents wouldn't hear of that. They checked around, they heard about hyperbaric oxygen therapy, they applied oxygen therapy to Eden Carlson. I saw her a year from her drowning, from her near drowning, and she was just a normal 3-year-old. And that's what we want for Christopher.
And that's why we're here.
That's what we're writing for
why we're
You know
here.
what? This is a very interesting story. It's not just interesting, but it's actually helped. I met Christopher a few
Yes,
weeks ago,
yes.
so I am one of the lucky person that's seen this baby. And from what you guys are describing to now is a lot of
Oh, yeah.
progress. It's
He's-
amazing. Yes.
We're going to see him at Disneyland. You want to go?
Well, we're gonna be talking more about this IHMF. I got it right.
Yeah, good job.
And I never asked that in the beginning. But anyways, we're gonna talk more about this because I have another questions that I want to ask you. I was gonna say doctor.
Should have been, right?
I play one on TV.
But please stay tuned for those who just joined us. We have Bret here, entrepreneur, Miss Janet Franco. She's a humanitarian advocate for veteran and a long-time radio and TV personality. That's why I'm so excited to see her. And also retired Colonel
Barry Muese.
Barry
Muese.
Muese.
Yes. We will be right back, viewers. Please don't go away because you're gonna learn a lot about Avacen, IHMF, and
Imagine Now? Yes, our
yeah,
charity.
Imagine Now. Yeah, and
Our
also the Imagine Now. You see the link at the bottom of the screen. It says Imagine Now .us. Go ahead and send your donation out there. You know what? It's free. It's free to give it to pay it forward.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Pay it forward.
Thank
We'll
you.
be right back.
Thank you very.
John is an employee at one of the most famous firms in the city of New York, so his job is very hectic, and he realized that it is necessary for him to go and finally take a vacation. But he went on a vacation without planning out the details, and wasn't able to truly enjoy where he went because he had to think about so many things that he didn't plan for. Instead of enjoying his time away from work, he came back with more stress that he was not able to take full advantage of his vacation. But this year, a coworker suggested him to try World Ventures this time to make his vacationing more enjoyable and less stressful. They do not require you to plan anything outside of your transportation, which is also available at discounted rates. Your stay, your transport, and many meals are planned by the club. John liked the idea very much. He tries World Ventures, and his experience with the club was amazing. as he made many friends there with whom he had a great time. John recommends that everyone should try this club, as they are the best in business. See how the VIP-vacation-club.com can give you the right experience without all the hassle. Enjoy the VIP experience that only World Ventures provides.
Oh, you are?
She's the boss.
Hey, welcome back. They call me boss lady.
Yeah, boss lady. Hello.
Welcome back to Let's Talk World. I was gonna say another show, but welcome back to Let's Talk World, and I am still happy to tell you guys that I still have the guests. We are actually talking in the middle of the break, and I really adore these two person right here who are advocate for veterans. And I would like to know more about the Triple Crown of Health and Wellness. What is that all about?
Yes. Well, after 28 years of radio, I've interviewed some of the greatest experts in the world. And over the last, 7 or 8 years, when I was asked to help our veterans, that's a tall order. And it's hard to, not being a medical doctor, it's hard to put that combination together because people say, what do I take? Right? Mm-hmm. And so we started researching different things, and the Triple Crown of Wellness, the Triple Crown of Health, it works perfectly together because you have hyperbaric, which increases stem cell, 8-time point of injury, then you have stem cell, and then you have neurofeedback. And neurofeedback is like if you have your car and you take it to AutoZone and you put the diagnostic in there and it reads your car, right? Well, that's what the brain map does. It shows us how your brain is doing and the neurological system and how it connects with the rest of the body. And so then when you go to AutoZone, it'll tell you what's wrong with your car. So then you have neurofeedback, and it tells you how many sessions you need to reset the brain to communicate with each other, with all the cells. So that worked with the emotional body, it works with hyperbaric, it worked with stem cell. So that's a Triple Crown of Health. And before I go into the wellness part, did you have anything to say about that, Mr. Colonel?
Well, so these therapies, neurofeedback, stem cells, and hyperbaric, they all multiply stem cells in your body. So if you're naturally developing stem cells to go to a wound or an injury, then hyperbaric, for example, will multiply that by a factor of 8, and that's in the science. It reduces edema. A big problem with mental health, besides the underlying brain injury, really, the drugs, the prescription drugs that people feel they must take in order to ameliorate the symptoms, right? So you have people with severe headache, so they take something for their headache. They have depression, they are prescribed something for depression. They have anxiety. They have insomnia. They have sensitivity to light and sound. All of these wind up with, when they're acute, with a prescription drug. And we've met many veterans who put a bag of pills on the table. They might take 30 pills a day. And of course, all these pills interact with each other. And some of them together really warrant the X of a combination that could cause depression and suicide. So the interesting fact about this is that there is no drug for the brain injury. There is no drug for PTSD. These are all symptomatic relief, and so you have a second problem. You have an addiction to the pharmaceuticals to try to relieve the symptoms. So these tech modalities get right in there and they heal the underlying damaged tissue. So you can throw those drugs away, and all of those symptoms peel off as you go through treatment. And that's why we're so excited about the Triple Crown of Health. Hyperbaric oxygen, neurofeedback makes a contribution. Stem cell treatment certainly makes a contribution. And of course, this wonderful new technology we have here with Avacen
I'm tempted.
acts very similar to hyperbaric oxygen therapy in its outcome, and it's portable. So it's
Amazing.
more accessible to people than hyperbaric oxygen therapy can be.
If I can compliment something he just said, it was just recently said by a physician, and he said that technology is surpassing pharmaceutical drugs. We're on the
Yes.
beginning front
Yes.
of where technology is now being the reduction of pain, or where you have inflammation or whatever it may be. That also has to do with this, but it has to do with hyperbaric and everything. Is that people need to realize out there, if you're watching this, you need to realize how damaging pharmaceutical drugs can be. It can be helpful here and there, but it's abused quite often. And when you have technology that can now take you that course, and you can limit what you're taking as far as pharmaceutical drugs, then what this conversation is about exactly that.
There's a lot of pharmaceuticals are really very helpful in
Yeah.
life, and
Yeah.
there are some that
Some
attack
you need to
cancer
have.
cells.
Yeah.
So not to put down that
Yeah.
that whole big pharma thing, but to understand that it can be misused. It is often the only tool that a physician has to hand out. But now we have new modalities, and the current administration has done a lot to move healthcare forward, or recognize that healthcare is moving forward faster than perhaps the FDA and physicians can really understand the technology coming in. So the Mission Act, which was signed and put into effect in June of this year, and for the Veterans Administration, permits the Veterans Administration to try new technologies and new treatments, and even if they're somewhat on the unproven side.
Yeah.
I want to say that for the knock on hyperbaric oxygen therapy and neurofeedback for treating brain injury is that it's not been cleared by the FDA for treatment. But the next sentence really is neither have any of those drugs. So there is nothing cleared for TBI and PTSD and concussion, nothing. But we know from clinical experience that hyperbaric oxygen therapy clears acute concussion in 3 or 4 sessions, and that all of those modalities, including Avacen, are making a great contribution to curing concussion, this underlying mental health, the cause of many of these mental health problems, so that people can. So the Mission Act has permitted the Veterans Administration, at least, to take the lead and to try these new modalities on veterans. And as those prove helpful in the clinical setting, then they're going to spread like wildfire all over this country.
You know, I became a believer in this when I met a medic. He was on 52 meds a day prescribed. 52. And we took him over because we didn't have a center here yet, so we took him over to Colorado to get treated. We couldn't find him in the airport because he got lost. He couldn't because of the drugs, right? But we put him on the regimen 2 a day for 40 days, hyperbaric. And after the regimens were finished, he was back, off all his drugs except for one pain med, and that was because the shrapnel that was on his spine was moving out. He had one pain med left, and he got his life back in 30 to 40 days. It was just made me a huge believer in this. And not only that, but my own son suffered horrible suicidal depression just a few months ago from a car injury. And I had to go literally pick him up off the ground because he was shaking with depression so bad. And I unplugged with everybody, and I said, I got to take care of my son. We took him down to Orange County. He only had 7 dives because he had to get back to work, 7 treatments. And he was like almost back again. He has to finish those 80, but the 7 gave him his life back again. So he could think and he could feel. And it was amazing, wasn't it, Barry? Just to watch this magic. And the breath of life is what God gave us when we were born. Because there's a dead person and a live person, it's the breath, right?
So how's your son doing with this hyperbaric?
Much better. And again, we're going to talk about the Avacen
Avacen,
because
yes.
he took this treatment last week.
Yes.
Because you were nice enough to leave it here for a week.
But
And
I have
just
a
that
question about
experience
what
was
you were.
amazing.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question. So you were saying that this hyperbaric device is tested in the veteran government.
It's been tested for many years. It's not reimbursable yet by insurance. It there are 14 indications for which hyperbaric oxygen therapy is warranted, and they're all near-death kinds of injuries. So if you have a crush injury, hyperbaric oxygen therapy is indicated and is reimbursed. Diabetic foot wounds, necrotizing fasciitis. There's a story almost every week in the paper about someone with necrotizing fasciitis, and hyperbaric oxygen therapy stops it in its tracks. It's antibacterial. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy is. There are 14 indications that are reimbursable. So it's well used in healthcare. What it's not well used for is concussion. Now that's a wound. Just like a crush injury is a wound, just like a skin flap is a wound, just like a diabetic foot ulcer is a wound. This is a wound. So, we think there's no reason that it ought not to be reimbursed. But since it isn't, what we're trying to do is, with these foundations, is raise money to give to the clinics around the country so that they can treat veterans, first responders, people like little Christopher, battered women, prisoners. I mean, we have 2 million people in prison, and many of them have mental issues, and some of those mental issues certainly are caused by brain damage. And if we can treat them, we may not shorten their time of incarceration, but if you want to rehabilitate somebody, you give them back their brain. Now they have a chance, maybe in prison,
and not going back
to
again.
go to school and to learn something, and not to become that other person that they were once. So it's a.
So it's not actually used by clinics or doctors.
It's used by. It is used. People can get their concussion treated. They just have to pay for it, and insurance is not yet paying for it, right? So there are some insurances that are paying for concussion treatment. And it's a very good case to be made, particularly for youth sports, because acute concussion, only 4 dives. So we've met many parents who have spent between $12,000 and $20,000 of their copays or their deductibles on getting concussion attended to at their local hospitals to no avail. They get zero for that, but they have paid $12,000, $15,000, $20,000. So they can they turn to hyperbaric, and they spend maybe $1,200, and their youngster is healed from their concussion. So it makes a lot of sense to insurance companies to cover acute concussion, because it can be cured in 3 or 4 dives. And I'm talking to insurance companies about doing just that, having a rider for youth sports, soccer, volleyball, football, hockey, all the collision sports, so that those youth sports can get a rider, and it'll cover 3, 4, 5 treatments if it occurs in a family. So we don't think we're very far away from that happening, but in the meantime, we still need money out there to help.
Need funds.
Many of these women, battered women, people like little Christopher's family is strapped for money, right?
Yes.
So they have both parents are working, they're taking care of 4 kids. Now the child is injured, takes 24-hour care, so one parent doesn't work anymore. They have to give up their job. The other parent's got to keep working. And then if they want to travel and take them somewhere, then the other parent is working, has to stop their job. So cash is a big problem. And we want these foundations to have enough cash, be able to help these people. While we're in this transition time, until this gets reimbursed and clearly across the country, there are 7 states who are now authorizing reimbursement. They're telling the insurance companies, you must cover concussion for youth sports.
That's huge.
So if we have enough funds to cover those things, is that mean that it's going to be free for? If
you need help to get treatment, then we would have the funds to help get the treatment. The beauty, one of the very good things about Avacen, besides being very effective, is that it's portable.
Yeah.
So
In-home
other
device.
people have to come to a clinic, and they may have to travel overnight. They may have
Yeah.
to spend a hotel. They have to, eat. They have to survive while their patient is getting treated. That's an added expense.
Yeah.
So we're trying to raise the funds to make it more available and to treat people in need. And those who can pay cash, that's great. And you can't pay cash, we want to be able to help you.
Pay it forward, yeah.
So where they can actually, if one of our viewers right now, they want to donate, where they can go?
They can go to our website at imaginenow.us. It's imaginenow.us. And we are right now raising money. Again, we're going to talk about this Avacen machine in our next segment, but we want to raise money for especially 3 people that are really in dire need of this machine and hyperbaric. So,
which will give everyone a chance to win
yeah.
this product as well.
Yes.
So you definitely want to stay tuned
Stay
to the next
tuned.
one.
Stay tuned, yes.
Oh, by the way.
We're gonna come back on the next segment, and we're gonna be talking about Avacen. Thank you so much for those information, Dr. Colonel.
Dr.
Thank
Colonel.
you.
We're all changing our names.
Do you guys want anything to add?
No, I think when we come back, we'll just come into the Triple Crown of Wellness, because this fits right into that pocket.
Okay.
And you guys are going to want to see this because it's going to change your life forever.
And if I could, I mean,
Yes.
it's easy to exaggerate. Oh, because we want to just build the story. There's no need to. What we have been experiencing with the hyperbaric chamber, with this machine here, the Avacen, other opportunities, it all makes sense, and it blends right together. So make sure you stay
You
tuned.
just have to meet one veteran's spouse whose veteran has been turned from a raging, maniacal person locked in a bedroom with the blinds drawn. You have to meet one spouse whose veteran spouse has been healed to really understand how
The
powerful
magnitude.
this is.
Yes.
Or one parent of a near-drowned child who's
Yeah.
brought back to full life. Or one parent of an auto accident, brain-injured victim, returned to near normal status. So do not
Go to the
do
website.
not go away.
Yes.
Do not go away. We will be right back.
John is an employee at one of the most famous firms in the city of New York, so his job is very hectic, and he realized that it is necessary for him to go and finally take a vacation. But he went on a vacation without planning out the details, and wasn't able to truly enjoy where he went because he had to think about so many things that he didn't plan for. Instead of enjoying his time away from work, he came back with more stress that he was not able to take full advantage of his vacation. But this year, a coworker suggested him to try World Ventures this time to make his vacationing more enjoyable and less stressful. They do not require you to plan anything outside of your transportation, which is also available at discounted rates. Your stay, your transport, and many meals are planned by the club. John liked the idea very much. He tries World Ventures, and his experience with the club was amazing, as he made many friends there with whom he had a great time. John recommends that everyone should try this club, as they are the best in business. See how the VIP-vacation-club.com can give you the right experience without all the hassle. Enjoy the VIP experience that only World Ventures provides.
Hey, welcome back to Let's Talk World. And we're having so much fun, powerful information, impressive stories. With is not a non-fiction story. It's a real story. I seen it. I seen a baby or little
Little Christopher.
yeah little
He's four now.
Christopher. Yes, 2 weeks ago. So and on this segment, I wanna actually turn the table to our beautiful Janet Franco.
You're so sweet, Maria. Well, the last segment we talked about the triple crown of health, and I want to introduce this amazing guy. But I want to introduce the triple crown of wellness. Is now people have heard about DNA. DNA is becoming huge in the marketplace. So now we can customize nutrition to your DNA. That's number one. Number two, we can actually repair your DNA. Never in history has this happened, and it's FDA approved formula. It's amazing. So now we have energy medicine, and we have this amazing piece of equipment that I have had personal experience with already. My son, the baby, and it's only been here in town in Las Vegas about a week, right?
Yeah, about a week and a half.
Week and a half.
Yeah.
So Brett, I'm going to give you the drum roll and introduce Brett to talk about the Avacen machine and how it's going to change healthcare in this entire and the world, I believe.
Yes.
After what I'm seeing.
Drum roll, everyone. So, hi. So a friend of mine called me up and said, Brett, I know you have a shoulder injury, and I want you to go down about 20 miles south of you and try a machine that I've just heard about. And I had no clue what he was talking about, but my shoulder injury was pretty bad. And so I went down to Irvine and jumped on this machine, which is a medical device. There you go. You put your hand in it. But you actually have to have a glove, and it has to be turned on, too. But
It's on.
but this is an FDA Class 2 cleared medical device. And that is a real big deal because we're the only device out there that can legally say that we work with microcirculation. This is a thermal therapy, advanced thermal therapy medical device. You put a glove on, you put your hand in, and there's a device here that heats up to about 105, 108 degrees. And because there's a suction here, it now gets your blood flowing throughout your entire vessel system within 7 minutes. Head to the toe, that's a microcirculation system as well. So you can imagine that when, we like to joke, if you're at the age of 40 and you have blood flow, you need this medical device in your home because every one of us needs to improve our microcirculation. A lot of people are uneducated about microcirculation. Let me kind of break down a scenario. Let's say you have a beautiful tree, and that tree gets its water from the little roots at the bottom of the ground, searching for water to suck up water to bring health to that tree. If I went along and I snipped every single little root and I snipped them all, that tree would die. Let's reverse that. If you have your vessel system from the big pipes going to the small pipes going to the capillaries, which are 2 microns, 5 microns, very small, 1/20th of a strand of hair is your capillary system. If you stretched out your capillary system across Las Vegas and onward, you would go about 1,000 to 2,000 miles. That's how much of a intelligent system that we have in our body. You also know that there's about 40 trillion cells in your body, and they all talk to each other because we have a smartphone, we have a smart body, and those cells are all talking to each other. So when you get to the intelligence of a machine that can reduce inflammation, can reduce pain, can reduce stress, because I think stress is the #1 cause of death throughout the world, because we all have stress and it causes all other issues. I mean, obviously there's cardiovascular that reigns out of them all, but when you can put your hand into this machine and you can relax, and you have that blood flow, and you're here for 30 minutes while you're watching TV, reading a book, talking to a friend, like I could have been on here the entire show, and I could have had my hand in there, and I would have had that consistent blood flow through my body. It also advances and dilates your vessels too, and so to 30 to 60%. So when you're taking the medicine that we need to often take, it also enhances that medicine to get to more areas of the body because your vessels are dilated. So this is very exciting to be able to get in front of this product, to share this product, and we're representing this product. You guys have come on board because you see the value of this product. Go into a hyperbaric chamber and then come out and go on this machine. There's advanced science that's telling us that is a very positive thing, and this is science-based. This is not just that somebody came up with something. What happened is that he was the inventor was actually trying to help his sister-in-law with migraine. She was in her room constantly with the lights off and suffering from 50 migraines a month. And so he built a machine to help her with her migraines, and she has no migraines anymore because of this machine. Now from there, he started realizing what heat therapy does. So I could talk all day about the advanced technology of it and everything, but
let's talk about little Christopher.
So
Okay,
yes,
right?
yeah.
So Brett's coming to town. I called some people over, and you were there, and we all came together, and Christopher was there. And so you put his little hand in there. Yeah. And Christopher it's been almost 2 years now, but his hands were still clasped shut, Sometimes they open, but not too much. So you put a little hand in there, and you didn't think it was going to do much because
at that moment I didn't.
Yeah, so, because we've never done this.
So I'm sitting with little Christopher's grandfather, and we're sitting there and talking. Ted and I are talking, and his hands are like this.
Yeah.
And so he puts on the glove, and we get the little palm into that pad here, and it heats up. We put it on medium temperature for 15 minutes, and we're just having a conversation. I'm thinking, there might be a benefit in the day or so, and they'll be able to see something. Well, we got a call from the grandmother, and she's just overfilled with joy because she went in, and not only did Christopher have an amazing sleep that night, but his hands were open. And
Ted said they opened 15 minutes after he was out.
Yeah.
His hands
So for the
open.
15 for the first time since the accident, this happened with the little Christopher.
And he almost rolled off the couch.
And he almost rolled off the couch. The PT said his mobility is amazing, so he wants to get in touch with me immediately because he doesn't know what happened to little Christopher. And then the OT has noticed some significance with eye contact, with reactions, and almost rolling off the couch, where they're amazed with little Christopher on this product as well. So I mean, I could go on. My neuropathy is down to 10% right now, and that's an individual story. That may not be for everybody. However, there's side benefits with this machine. It's a reduction of stress, it's a reduction of pain, inflammation. We have approvals in Health Canada, and we have approval in the EU, where fibromyalgia has been approved out there. Nice. So it's super exciting what we have. It's out there. It's already had 5 million usage treatments in doctors' offices over the last 7 years, and now it's in our hands, and we're going to get it out there to the world because we have the global rights.
That's amazing.
It's big stuff.
Where were you when I had my migraines?
Yeah, I understand. I'm telling you, the reaction that we're getting from almost everybody who comes onto this machine is absolutely amazing.
Well, I said my son tried it. Gary tried it, and in about 10 minutes, he was just like falling asleep. I'm like, "Are you okay?" He's like, because he doesn't sleep well, right, from the brain injury. So he's like, wow, I'm feeling like, and my neck isn't hurting, and my back is feeling better. And he's like, wow. 20 minutes later, he walks out of there feeling like really great.
This is clearly facilitating the movement of oxygen through the body.
Yeah.
So it's opening
Yeah.
the vascular system, and you've got that little negative pressure in there to open the system all the way through head to toe. So you're putting your hand in, but you're not treating your hand.
Yeah.
You're treating your
The
whole
whole
body,
body.
just like hyperbaric is. So you are allowing that oxygen to get into all those small places where it hasn't
where
been.
it's most needed.
So my neighbor is in her 80s, and she has children and grandchildren, and she can't. She's gotten to where she can't remember her grandchildren's names, and she's a little depressed. Her doctor prescribed physical therapy for her. So she goes to physical therapy twice a week for 4 weeks. I go to the fence between the yards. I talk to her. Her name's Greta. Greta, at the end of her physical therapy, can remember the names of her grandchildren. She's much more, her cognition is at a much higher level. So what happened? What's going on? Well, she went to physical therapy, and the physical therapist moved her body around at 85.
Yeah.
Like she's unable to move like she was 18. What's happening there is that blood is starting to move, carrying oxygen around. Just even physical therapy helps oxygenate and improve cognition. This does it to the max. Hyperbaric oxygen does it. So that's why runners run. That's why people exercise. They want to go to the gym. They feel better because it gets the oxygen moving. That's the breath of life. That is the component that we need. And as you get older, or if you get an injury, you might need a little bit of help. And this machine is a great complement to hyperbaric oxygen therapy, to neurofeedback, to stem cell work. I know that hyperbaric oxygen therapy activates 8,101 genes in the body.
Wow.
It up and down regulates them. So it down regulates the inflammatory genes, and it up regulates the healing genes. And clearly it's the vascular system is the common ingredient here in oxygen. So good nutrition is part of the triple crown of wellness, and getting oxygen around is the other piece, and this is just a remarkable
You know, what's
device.
interesting I want to mention is when we were with those scientists down in Santa Barbara, the one guy was best friends with the top researcher in the world for Alzheimer's. And you know what the number one cause of Alzheimer's is, what he has discovered, is nutrition, lack of nutrition. Now, if this machine can open up those vessels and take our customized nutrition and nanosize that into the capillaries of the brain, we're going to see a new day for, I mean, what is dementia? It's become like we didn't have this years ago. Why are we so influxed with these horrendous conditions? Because the way we're eating and we're not breathing deep. They say when they do autopsies on people, I've done a lot of studies myself for radio, but they said most of the people are lacking oxygen in their lungs when they do an autopsy. They're atrophied. 2/3 of the lung is atrophied. So if something like this can force the oxygen into those areas, this big prize coming.
The beauty of this is that nutrients, oxygen, water gets moving within that blood flow. You also get the toxins taken out, the muscle acid, the lactic acid, the carbon dioxide. That waste is actually being removed in the process of this going. I'm going to ask a favor here. How can they get this? How can they get this product? Because you guys are actually going to be selling this.
Yes.
So,
And there's an event tonight.
Yes.
For people in Las
Yes,
Vegas. We'll talk about that in a
yes,
minute. But
okay.
there's a website right there.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And could
Is
I
the
imagine.us?
Yes.
Yeah.
But can I give a phone number?
Yes, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Thank
Yes,
you.
my phone number is 702-918-1994. The year we beat the FDA. 702-918-1994. Please get a
Awesome.
hold of us. Go to the website. You can reach us there as well. Email us. And So excited. So let's talk about our little.
I need to go to a break, and
Oh.
there's a big call that I have to set up
Okay.
at 1 o'clock with Thomas.
Oh.
Can we go to a break?
Yes, sure. We can go. Before you go to break,
Yes.
so where is the event tonight?
Yes, it's at the I'll have that at the beginning of the next segment.
Okay, perfect.
I'll have that at the beginning of the next segment.
So stay tuned. Well, we just have to
Thank
go
you.
on a quick break, and we will be right back to
You
you
have
with
Hutton
more.
calls.
Thank
Please
you.
stay tuned, and
Thank
please
you.
let us know how we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, and also if you guys have any questions, I forgot to say this in the beginning of the show. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment at the box. Please say anything you guys want. It's the internet anyway, and we will see you guys on the next segment. Bye bye.